We're recording for real now. We could take out all the stuff where we blame my brother for burning the clutch.
Don't worry. There'll be more of that later.
And by later, he means the next 3 years.
Yes. Let's,
Just
are
one
we
goat.
ready? Mental, are you recording? Back up.
I am.
Okay, good. I'm recording too. I need to start. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of a Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussions, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock for what might be a head scratcher of an episode.
Really? I don't know.
Hi.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
My head's fine.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm mental.
Seriously, every time over
Two.
everyone, right?
I was trying to say
111
something funny
episodes.
about I
Nope.
think the listeners might scratch their heads
Oh.
at this topic.
Okay,
I
fine.
think what we're talking about today is kind of deep.
We're-
Sorry, go
we're-
on, Chrissy.
We're not there yet. We didn't even make it through the intro. Goodness gracious. Thanks for coming back and listening to an Add Lightness episode of our podcast. It's episode 211. The Lotus 211 is intended as a track only special and was available from Lotus from 2007 to 11. Its supercharged Toyota 4-cylinder makes 255 horsepower and 158 foot-pounds of, you should just be picturing me spinning around in a circle with some heels and talking to no one, talking about this car. Do you get it? Car show. Remember that was a thing? Anyway, 170 foot-pounds of torque, only weighing 1477 pounds itself. It gets to 60 and 3.8 seconds and it has top speed of 150. If you are going 150, don't do that, please, at all. Save it for the track or somewhere else. And if you're not driving, then get your E1R bingo card out, because we never know how it's going to be. And make sure that you are following our new directions, because we realize we're getting the same card every time. Make sure to go to help at the top and then click new card and you'll get a new card. Let's move on. Mental. What are you working on?
Mental.
Whatever your name is.
And they ate Sir Robin's minstrels. There was much rejoicing. So we have, as I was showing my co-host before we started recording, I have no ceiling. We are a ceiling-free house. It's all giant piles of insulation. So we've got all that taken care of. The dumpster left on Monday. After we're done recording, I will be putting up in the holes where the insulation has gotten wet or got ruined. And then I'm packing for Gingerman because I leave tomorrow morning for Gingerman. So headed up to the Lemons race there, me and Eric Rude. Behave yourselves, because Eric's had a lot of time to think, and there are some really sinister penalties that I think we're going to be able to implement because it's raining Friday and Sunday.
Oh.
Typical Gingerman weekend. So, and recently on, I think just this week, I had a new issue pop up on the Mercedes. So I got an alert and I ran the codes and I did some diagnostics. As it turns out, the steering angle position sensor inside the wheel, it is a battery powered unit. And after a time, it goes bad. I mean, I can't complain for 14 years and 165,000 miles that this one has gone bad. The direct impact of that is 5 minutes after I start the car, I get an alert that says the electronic stability program is not functional. And I kind of don't care. Now I don't have to turn it off. I just, get a little squirrely out of any stoplight that I want to at will. It's fantastic. So it's
Damn nannies, electronic nannies.
As long as you don't mind hitting that clear button on the steering wheel every day, totally fine. I get it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just the part of the startup procedure.
We
go
have
through,
one
check
on
stuff, yeah.
just about every car.
Right now, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
A message or a button? Because
Message.
okay.
Yeah. Well, both.
Both.
Push a button, clear a message. Yep.
Yes.
Except the Corvette. It's got neither.
The Mercedes, basically I need a spa day because I'm going to go through. I got to replace one of the fog lights got shattered and I didn't put them back in when I was doing that front end work. And I bought a replacement set, and it's just going to have to be where I've got a week to just let the car get taken apart and I've got something else to drive. And that's going to require me finding another gear in that Porsche for a while. So yeah. So meanwhile, that's my
As long as
week.
you're going slowly, your Porsche gets you where you need to go, and you look great doing it. And it sounds great too.
Yeah, it sounds great. And I've been driving it probably once, twice a week, because especially if the weather's not that bad and I drop the windows, it's fun. I've actually been working with Charles down in Texas. He usually runs one of the if Steph brings one of her tragic cars, he'll be running one of those. He also has a 928. So we've been exchanging technical advice back and forth, and he's got me some. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to replace the transmission, which isn't that big of a deal, but there are several $100 fixes in between here and that replacement transaxle before I start fiddling with it. And I'm going to attempt just to see if it works. So that's where
Transaxle Porsches. I'm wearing one on my shirt right now.
Actually, I think
all Porsches have transaxles.
Yeah, except for the Cayenne. Yeah.
Yeah. All good Porsches
Is
have
the
transaxles.
911 really a
Good Porsches.
transaxle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the axles come right out
That's
of it.
true. The axles do come right out of it. That's true.
Now, in the notes, we have Jeff next, but Jeff's going to wait because we're going to be asking Jeff lots of questions.
I was just going to say like a couple words. I worked on the Z.
Yay! And there was much rejoicing by the peasants.
Yeah.
Peasants.
Yeah.
Apparently,
It's from a movie Chrissy hasn't seen. Mark that off your bingo card. I will also mention that that I'm working midnight through midnight every day on the university. Check it off your bingo card. Someone complains about work.
No. That's not on the bingo card. Jeff complains about work is what's on the bingo card.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody works too much. It is university weekend coming up, and everything is crashing and burning. Our taco trucks can't make it. Somebody got COVID and has to stay home for weeks. Somebody broke their foot.
Oh my gosh, this is terrible.
The ticket people who are selling tickets to our boat cruise told a bunch of people that each ticket was for you and your date. That is not true. It was a single ticket per person. So I have to break many hearts in the next, as soon as I'm off the podcast, send an email to everyone and be like, hey, you think you have 2 tickets to the boat? You only have 1.
I'm going to go on a limb.
Now a
guess
singles
that-
cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a limb and guess that all of this you were not involved in, and now you just have to clean this up, because I am pretty sure as much static as we give you, you would have never made that level of a mistake.
Yeah, it was my people and some of the people around my people. So it was, yeah, I have to be the manager and yell at the people who made the errors. So I am to blame.
All of this is
because
all of this
I'm
is
the
sad.
manager. Yeah.
Or as I was famous for saying when I wore a uniform, look, it's not your fault, but it is your problem.
Yes, there it is. So anyway, that's it. We'll talk Z in a minute.
Wow.
Okay.
Great.
Chris, what are you working on?
Oh, thanks. I was waiting for Jeff to throw
I
it
know,
to me.
Oh,
I know.
sorry.
He's
He
doing
all
he's
works.
he's
Yeah.
TikToking or something.
No, I'm changing my name. I didn't. It still says Jeffrey.
I just
don't like
figured
Jeff-
we'd move
Jeffrey,
on.
there we go.
Oh, okay,
Jeffrey's a
this is Chris. Tell me what
Yeah,
you're working
Great.
on.
I installed a window in the bedroom. It's only been sitting there.
Was there a wall, or you took a window out and put it?
There's been a broken
I-
window for 8 years
Oh.
now.
6 max.
Oh, I think it's been 8.
6. I
Fine.
taped it up really well. Didn't leak, but
But big
vacuum
storms, we would hear it cracking, which is always exciting.
so we've had the replacement double casement window in the basement
For a
for
Almost a
10
year.
months now. We put one of them in here, the office to my left, and finally we did this one because we had the perfect window weather window, and it worked great. And it's in, and it looks great, and it's wonderful. It's trimmed, it's painted, it is caulked, it is curtained, it is done.
It's caulked, all right.
Yeah, it is.
You caulked it.
So
Looks like
that
you were
if you
slamming
haven't picked up
tacos.
on, if you haven't picked up on this one for your bingo card, that is 3 out of 4 everyone home improvement. So
Oh, I got it. I'm excited to see that one. There's changes on these cards. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also did some chainsaw work because after I repaired the chainsaw, because I went to start the chainsaw and grabbed it, and the pull cord just came off in my hand, so I had to take it apart and replace the rope in the pull start. But then did chainsaw stuff, which is always
Yeah,
fun.
while you're there, you fix the tensioner and you clean out the goo and all that
Yeah.
other stuff.
Nah.
And then
No.
you go cut down everything you can find that needs to get cut because like I got a
Everything.
chainsaw. I'm gonna cut it
And
all.
and a little trailer.
And
Uh-huh.
every time I have to use my chainsaw because I use it so infrequently, I have to devote 45 minutes to maintenance. You know, I gotta get everything lubed, and usually the fuel's gone bad, and I gotta spray out the carburetor and change this out and retension the chain. You know, so yeah, once I get the stupid thing running, everything's getting chopped because I spent 45 minutes getting the thing running.
Yeah.
I've
love
now
my
just
old-
Milwaukee reciprocating saw and a big blade, everything these days. Like I have the chainsaw sitting there and I'm just like, give me
Not-
the wood blade.
We literally cut down trees.
Yeah, I cut down
like a whole
10-inch tree.
yeah, 10-inch
and-
tree. I probably would have pulled it out.
Yeah. And but actually this little old Husqvarna 44, the damn thing, as long as the coil doesn't break, rope doesn't break off in your hand, the damn thing just starts and plugs away without almost any maintenance. Like I don't know when the last time I did anything to it. It's a champ. Also the Mazda is all back together and mostly working. Yeah. Turns out-
Mostly.
Well, I'll get there. But turns out putting the clutch in backwards works. It's the right way. Gearbox side toward engine. The sticky outy bit toward the engine.
I asked this in the Slack. Is it because that's the big block or just
Nothing to do with it. I
crappy-
answered you in the
crappy
Slack there.
instructions? Okay.
Yeah, that because the there's nothing different about the block. That's the same bolt pattern, same spacing, same everything. And then from that point onward, it's all speed 3. It's a speed 3 flywheel. It's a speed 3 clutch. It's a speed 3 pressure plate. It's a speed 3 trans. It's a speed 3 everything else. So, and it's just the instructions are wrong. If you're ever putting a speed 3 this together, the sticky outy bit toward the flywheel. There you go.
And that's two because the BMW Hamsa did, and
Yep.
this. Jesus.
Mhm.
At least
Yeah,
yours wasn't completely like ruined.
What-
by
Yeah.
What
installing
is
it
up with the
backwards.
clutch manufacturers? Like, come on, people.
I don't know if it's the clutch manufacturers or the manufacturers having it wrong in their manuals, and the clutch manufacturers are going off the manuals, and that's that. But usually, like you take the old one out and you get to see how it was. In this case, because I was swapping in something entirely different, no clue. That's why I went in the instructions. So the things that still need to be repaired is one of the circuit breakers in the car, the one in the engine bay, is failing really early. So it was great when I at 8:00 last night go to take the car for a test drive, and as soon as I crank the electric power steering, by the way, it pulls too much load and everything in the car shuts off, including the lights.
And we don't
But
have
then
a
it
whole lot of
comes- but
street
then it
lights
comes
around
right
this
back- but
place.
then- right, it comes back on, but then as soon as you turn the wheel or do anything, everything goes off. And it was a clouded, dark night with no moon, and I'm out in the dark with a car that I can kind of sort of turn, and I have to turn around and go back home. Anyway, but I figured out what it was, and I'm just replacing that circuit breaker with a very large fuse because that is not a moving part. As long as I have spares, it's okay.
It's so disheartening when you spend all these hours diagnosing, re-diagnosing, and solving a genuinely complicated problem, and then it's something other. Obviously, it wasn't, but like you go to turn the car and everything goes dark, and it just feels like another catastrophic failure. Damn it! Ah.
This is all better than taking the whole engine and trans out, then putting the engine back in, then taking the trans out and putting the trans back in, and then redoing all of this.
In the last 2 months, that car has been so far apart and back together that, who knows what I missed, but I checked it all. It was fine. But anyway, and the last thing is it needs a speed 3 shifter, like the actual bit in the car that bolts to the floor and has a knob and stuff on it that the cable
Like
is
the
attached
whole
to.
stick and everything.
Yeah. Because the range of motion, because it's a completely different manufacturer transmission, really entirely different. The range of motion necessary on the stick is different. So I can't get it into 5th or 6th in the car
Ooh,
right
that's a
now. I can
problem.
do it
Okay.
at the trans, but the shift doesn't go over far enough to do 5th and 6th. And it's a little weird about finding the other gates. So we're just getting the factory solution for it, which I ordered from a junkyard in Wyoming today.
Oh, I was gonna say, for those of you who haven't found a good bribe at Gingerman, a Mazda Speed 3 shifter, but never mind.
Hey, it's already on the way, but thank you very much. That's great. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, so all kinds of good progress there.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Chrissy.
Wow.
Chrissy.
While Chris was putting in the window, I was continuing the yard work. Other than the chainsaw, I was using the pole saw and the electric buzzy. I call it the buzzy, like chainsaw type thing, to lop down a whole lot of stuff. We filled a trailer and then we filled another trailer full. We have a utility trailer, pretty big one, and we filled it twice. So got a lot done, and then I had some relaxation. We put the boat in on Sunday, and then I did a little bit of help trying to button the car back up, and I have been practicing putting my Mazda parts, interior and exterior, smaller parts from the Mazda, up on eBay. So I have a whole bunch of parts listed. So if anybody was looking for a trunk cover for a Mazda 3 hatch, or I have a bunch of lights and interior pieces and things that are in pretty good condition that people might just want to replace. So I've been putting them up a couple a day, and nobody's bought anything, but all of them are listed for a lot. So let's hope that somebody buys something. It really owes me nothing. So if I get $20 for a part, I'll be super excited.
Nice.
You also put the right front suspension back together on the car.
I did.
While I was doing other stuff.
Well, I said I was helping buttoning the car up. I was putting suspension, putting parts together.
Excellent.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Notes. So I was gonna say, have you seen? We're gonna do NASCAR. I'm sorry. I apologize now. Bubba Wallace, we've been Bubba Wallace fans since 2019 for obviously inclusion reasons, but also because his name is Bubba. Wallace is literally only the second Black driver to ever win a NASCAR Cup Series race since Wendell Scott. If you don't know who Wendell Scott is, go read your history. Check out Donut Podcast's history podcast called Past Gas. This is the first win for the Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin owned 23IX team, like Jordan's number, in their inaugural season. When they started this year, Michael Jordan said, we're going to get at least one podium. And everyone in NASCAR laughed at him because nobody gets a podium in their first year. And but anyway, Wallace was actually having a pretty good race. He was worked up to the front. He was leading near the end of the second stage at Talladega. There had been a couple of different rain delays, so it was already Monday. And then the event got red flagged. So he was leading when he got red flagged. The story is all over the interweb, but we have a link to the Jalopnik write-up by Elizabeth Blakenstock in our notes. And I'll just tell you right now, do not read any of the comments anywhere on the internet who are screaming about idiot racist things and how it doesn't count because it's a rain shortened race. There was no last minute, everybody dove in the pits and he was leading.
What I like about the Blankenstock article versus the other ones that we saw is that she even says he wasn't celebrating. Like the other drivers were coming over trying to shake his hand and he was waving them off because he didn't feel like it was a win of that nature. It
is. It's a restrictor plate race, and he is very good at restrictor plate races. So if he had a chance to win something, it was Talladega. He was leading for a good amount of time. Take the win, Bubba.
Yeah. Speaking of winners, David Wallens over at GRM published the 10 finalists for the inaugural IMSA Diverse Driver Development Scholarship. Now, of course, we're going to put that link in our show notes, but among them is Sarah Montgomery. And you're thinking, why do I know that name? She has shown up at a couple Lemons races. And in 2015 at Autobahn, she was the one that Jay and Nick set up of, oh, you guys are terrible drivers. They'd been, S10 had been to the penalty a bunch of times. And they said, we could just grab any rando and throw them in the car and they're going to do better than you. And they look around and they go, you. And
you, course, that girl.
Yeah. Sarah's already been planted into that. And if you watch the video, which is also linked in our show notes, so quote, random person. And they're like, you're going to teach her how to drive your car. She's going to show you how it's better. And she hams it up completely. She's like, what's that stick in the middle? Why are there numbers on it? How do I get that to go? You could actually in the video see the guy trying to show her how to operate a clutch and, just make sure you hit the apex. That's what we call the center of the corner. And her first lap, she beats their best time by 2 seconds, then 5 seconds, and then goes on to blast their best lap by 10 seconds repeatedly, and then pulls it back in because she at the time was a factory Mazda driver. She is an ambassador for the Lemons of Love. She runs WRL with Haggerty in the R3 team. Last year, she earned 3 poles, 7 podiums, and an overall win. She is the first woman to ever podium in the MX5 Cup, and that was one of 4 in her 2019 season. She finished 4th in standings. Now, IMSA introduced this scholarship back on August, and in addition to a desire to compete at IMSA and notable previous results, okay, I mean, you got to want to race and you got to be good at it. They need to build a business plan securing their remaining funding for the full season. So that's going to be a challenge. The winner will get support from IMSA and his partners, which include Michelin, VP Racing Fuels, OMP Recaro, and Lat Photo, with some of those benefits extending into 2023. So it's a whole article, and the link and the wrap-up video for Autobahn is all in our show notes. Chrissy. I heard a click.
Apologize. No, I apologize. It's me. Another winner of the IMSA drivers is Christina Lam, who is also a fantastic local driver. She drives with NASA out here, and she is part of Shift Up, which is a women's getting into automotive sports. So she also is a winner of she's part of the same group.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Chrissy, I know you're wavering on going to PRI or not, but I signed up for the Women in Motorsports Roundtable discussion.
What day is it?
You know what you didn't do, Jeff?
Yeah.
Read my email with all the attachments for the
I
JPEGs.
did. I put those attachments on there.
Okay, because I got CC'd on an email today that says, "Hey,
I
you
did. I put that
you
in.
only allow JPEGs," and so I'm sending you an email instead of
Oh
following.
no, I did them both. I'm an overachiever.
Okay, I don't know. What
See,
you're
I
talking
know
about.
you have a story.
That's it.
I do have
Yes.
a story. Is it possible to make the Dodge journey any worse? Before you
No,
answer,
it's
hear
not.
this bit of news from Jason Dunn at the riveting site Automotive Logistics. The Chinese automaker Guangzhou Automotive Group, I don't know how you say that, I don't care, or GAC, which is what we're going to call it, is planning to sell 4,000 vehicles in Mexico by the end of this year. Part of that plan is to make their own GS5 SUV, and in a joint venture with our favorite car group, Stellantis, sell them as a Dodge Journey in their own dealerships in Mexico. The state-owned maker already has a foothold in Asia and Middle East and South America, but it's looking to, quote, continue to strengthen and expand cooperation with Stellantis and continue to explore the Mexican market, as well as radiate to surrounding areas to lay foundation. I'm throwing up right now. Oh, good. I have throw up on my card. Yes, market on your card.
Yes, you can't say it and then check it off your own card.
I just said it.
It was organic.
It was
I'll allow
organic.
it. I'll allow it.
The second part was excited because I was trying to figure out how throw up was going to hang in here. This is great. To lay a foundation, blah, blah, cultivation, blah, North American, blah. Their American market entry is hampered by a current 25% import tariff on Chinese vehicles, but they clearly are eyeing the US market. Get a Chinese Dodge Journey to a Lemons race, and you are going to be awesome.
GAC is pretty big, right? GAC is one of the larger manufacturers.
Presented
Everyone's
to
like,
you
"Ah,
by
I don't know.
Stellantis.
Hey,
Stellantis
any
may
Dodge
give you
Journey.
Oh.
So, yeah,
you are
if you-
suffering.
If you found that you were deciding buying a Dodge Journey is a good idea, then talk to your doctor about Stellantis.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
That's good.
Anyway, moving on, the Mercedes Formula One team has joined forces with British sailor Ben Ainsley in a quest to win the America's Cup for Great
Did
Britain's
not
Royal
know
Yacht
this.
Squadron.
Quite excited.
The Ineos Britannia team, skippered by Ainsley, hopes to bring the first win for a British team since 1851
Good
for
luck,
England.
Limeys.
That was just the first year they ever did it. It was just a race around the Isle of Man, and that was it. And they won. The British won then, but ever since then, nope. Anyway, he's going to work closely with the British-based Mercedes team to build a yacht capable of defeating the current holders, Emirates Team New Zealand. The link up to the two teams becomes via Ineos, which owns a third of the F1 team and is the main backer of Ineos Britannia. The sailing team will be based at Mercedes headquarters in Brackley, so everyone can thank the people at the factory in Brackley, like Lewis does every single time he talks, right?
He was afraid. Yeah.
And leaning on the engineering resources of various departments via the F1 team's Mercedes Applied Science Division. So a little bit more about it in general. Apparently, Mercedes had to divert some staff away from their F1 program because of the cost cap in F1. So they're like, well, these people are really good. I want to keep them. What else can we do? And so apparently now they're going sailing. So it's also what they said was it's a big challenge now. It's new for all these engineers who are very good aerodynamicists and hydrodynamicists and things like that to do this, because they've won the championship 7 years in a row now. And apparently there was a bit of complacency going on because, okay, we'll win again, right? So you're not going to, apparently the things they're going to be good at are the things you don't really see on the boat. Like, all right, I have to run this hydraulic line from here to here. How big does it need to be? How often does it need to be supported? How can we minimize the weight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that in the composite structures, I mean, the boats are all carbon.
That's what
fiber.
I was going to say. Yeah, it's all carbon fiber.
There's no sail. It's a wing. It's a wing that's vertical that they move. So that's all aero. It's the same stuff. Like
fluid dynamics is fluid dynamics.
There's a lot of crossover between the two. So
is it the team principal from Aston Martin? No, from Alfa Romeo is also a America's Cup guy.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Great.
I just figure it's one of those, all right, I'm so tired of not winning. Get me some Germans. We're done with this. Give me some Germans. I want this problem solved.
Because Dieter needs to make sure. Never mind. We won't talk about Dieter. Let's talk about something new. Mental, I'm sure you're very excited to announce this.
We all are, because we all worked on this. A few weeks ago, we were contacted by Racing Junk. And just today, I had a conversation with Chris Carr, who is the marketing guy who reaches out to their podcast. And we are now official media partners of racingjunk.com.
Whoa.
Yes. More so, racingjunk.com is the official classifieds of the Everyone Racers podcast.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, seriously. And yes, okay, this is corporate shill stuff, but we don't get paid. We did this because we actually like Racing Junk. And if you get a chance, go over to Racing Junk, check it out. There's 24 hours for lemons cars for sale there. You got some busted up race car and you need a part? Sure. Check out eBay, but also check out Racing Junk, because then you're buying it from another racer. Jeff and I have nerded out over Toter Homes. Chrissy's over there looking at all this safety gear, and Chris is reading through some of their stuff. There is some great stuff over at Racing Junk. Not only will hopefully be meeting up with them at SEMA. Well, I'll be meeting up with them at SEMA because they're not coming, but we're going to try and do something for there. But we are in the early stages of making sure that we get to the PRI show, where we hopefully can do a booth broadcast live from the PRI show in the Racing Junk podcast booth. This is going to be great. It's going to get us access to track owners and team owners and folks that are involved in the racing industry. So check out racingjunk.com. Tell them Everyone Racers sent you. There's more stuff coming out. There's going to be official press releases. This is all really cool stuff, but we're genuinely geeked, and we could not have done it without all of you listening. So thank you.
Thanks.
By the way, if you buy a part off of Racing Junk, it's going to be much cheaper than new, and you can put that right in your budget. Like,
is that how that works?
If only you knew some judge and you said, well, I bought this off of the Racing Junk website. And I'm like, yep, doesn't count.
Well, anyway, let's talk upcoming races. Champ Cars A division is running. Is it Canadian? Is it like
Yeah.
Read the next line, Jeff.
The Perry Performance and Competition CTMP Grand Prix at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. See, that's what I was trying to get to. Only 29 cars.
Oh, what's
11 BMW board.
It's about a Clues border, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
true.
it is. It's only the Champ Car people that live
4
there.
Miatas, 7 Hondas, no Porsches, and a Cobalt and a Cavalier will battle it out for the fast food manager's first new car superiority.
All right. We'll see
What would
how
you
that goes.
rather have, Chris? Cobalt or Cavalier?
I mean, a Cobalt, because it's a generation newer and it's not based in the 70s technology design suspension of the Cavalier.
And I'm gonna say Cavalier for exactly every reason you just went through, because at this point now it's ironic. A Cobalt just says I've given up, and a Cavalier says you're a weirdo.
I like to get one of those
Also-
mid 80s Z24s.
Z24s. That's exactly right.
Yes.
With the hubcaps that had like the square grid
Yes,
on the middle of
exactly.
them.
You
Yeah,
literally
well,
can't.
Awesome.
They were
If you find-
allies. Yeah. Yeah.
If you
The
find a
GM sound of
Cavalier,
power. Come on.
good for you, because they are Cavaliers are
gone.
Doesn't Anton have a Cavalier still? Doesn't he still? No, because he's on the
Oh,
Volvo now.
oh,
right?
but wait till Chrissy gets to the next upcoming
Oh,
race.
go on, go on,
Okay.
go on.
I will
Ready,
keep
ready.
reading. Lemons, Tony Swan, Never Say Die Memorial is this weekend at Gingerman. As a reminder, fifth host Eric Root is a White Sox fan, and especially now because that you want to get that, make sure that you have that right, because the Sox are at the top of the American League Central. He also likes vintage car books, especially about American cars. Bonus if they aren't made anymore. Mental wears a size large and needs a transactional for a Porsche 928. Though
Never.
if you are given one, I'm not sure how you would get it home.
Oh, he'll find a way.
Okay.
I will freight that. I don't care.
Okay, and there are 81 cars, which is awesome. 7 of them are BMWs.
Boring.
Yeah, but still 7. That's fantastic.
That's
low.
very Midwestern.
Less than 10%.
Yeah, perfect. 2 Miatas, 9 Hondas, no Porsches, and some other Midwestern delights like the Great Wall of Motors Volex.
Volex, yep.
Volex. Okay, it has 2 E's, so it sounds like that. Is back, and Lemon's Buick Riata. That's pretty awesome.
Why you ruined classic?
No,
it's pretty awesome.
ruin it.
There's a 98 Cavalier, and fifth host
Yeah.
Eric Root is overly charmed by the newly rethemed 94 Tempo presented as a Topaz.
Oh, that's so cute.
That's good.
Hey, I got another bribe suggestion. Passenger side entry door latch for a 2016 Thor Motor Coach Outlaw 29H. There you go. Very specific.
It is.
What?
It is very specific because when I go to Amazon to find a replacement, all the generic ones do not fit. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is that? What is
That's
that?
his
for?
RV.
The
door
reason we had to
latch.
use the key to
Key
get
in
into
the
the
RV,
That's
RV.
a great idea.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
What if you didn't
I'm-
have
Oh.
to put up the sign that says "closed door while driving"?
Okay, I'm gonna say this.
I think he
for
has
like-
one.
for like the ninth,
No.
for like the 19th time. 40,000 miles on that RV. The only time that door came open is when Chrissy was in it because you
Well.
didn't lock it correctly.
No, because it's in Jeff's RV. There's a big
The
sign on the
sign.
door that says closed door while driving because his dad forgets to lock the door.
Fair enough.
Recent results.
Champ Car was tossing back a few iron cities at pit race. It's a shame. On Saturday, first was the 99 Saline Boxster. Mustard won a minute and 50 over 944 of Visceral Racing Group. Both cars fast lap at 2 minutes. That's hauling pit race. Well done. 1 lap down was an E30 of Bulldog Racing. Boring. The Chevy Beretta, though, was 10th overall and 6th in class. All you fools got
Okay.
beat by a Beretta.
Let's add
Great.
Beretta to the Cavalier Cobalt.
Oh,
mix.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'm
Especially
taking the
The
Beretta every
turquoise
time.
one.
The
Oh, yeah.
turquoise one with the pink little
The
thing on
GTU,
side.
because it was the
GTU.
GTU, and it was available with a quad 4 and a 5-speed. That was a great car.
Yep.
I'd totally take one of those.
There's a 94 Esca was 38th, and the 95 Grand Marquis was 39th.
Are
All
we
of
still
them,
talking about real racing? I lost track.
all of them beat the second Saline cars, the Visceral Group 944. So that's great.
Mhm.
Take that. My Beretta beat all y'all.
Sunday, the Mustard Boxer won again. It was 1 lap of the boring BMW of RVA Graphics. Third was the Visceral 944. The Beretta was 7th overall, but 5th in class, while the Escort was 21st and the Grand Marquis was 31st.
Mental, say the word sibilance for me.
What is that?
Sibilance. Go ahead, just say sibilance.
Why?
Cuss. That's the sound your microphone is making. Sorry, it's
Okay.
driving me nuts. We need to get you a puffy thing. Your new microphone sounds awesome. I love the way it sounds. You need a puffy thing. Listener feedback time. As often happens, for some reason, the YouTube comments are on fire. And our butt generated lots of that comment because our butt is on. No, wait, that's not what I mean. Jackie of Team. I don't know. What is it? Champagne shower? What are they? What are they? Are they called?
Sorry for
Well,
party.
sorry for party.
Sorry
but-
for party, champagne showers. I don't know what it is. Said, glad we were able to provide a mostly well-prepared car. 'Twas a good weekend and hoping to get back there in January for Vara, VARA. That is the vintage racing group.
Hey,
And if-
I don't think they could have prepared that car any better. They did. It's a 944. That's kind of how it is. I think they did a great job of preparing it. So
Absolutely.
And if anyone is actually interested in the University of Varus, January 22 and 23, it's not that cold during the day. It's at the butt. Go ahead and contact us, everyone.racers@gmail.com. It is not NASA Great Lakes level of HBDE, but it is a fantastic school, and you're going to get 2 days of track time for $550. And I am one of the instructors. They even have rental race cars available if you want to escape the great frozen place where you live and come on out to California. But on the subject,
go buy one on Racing Junk and bring it there and shake it down.
Ooh.
Boom, that just happened. Bam. All right. On the subject of available cars, Michael K answered our around the horn get question that Jeff asked about what cheap car could we possibly reduce ourselves down to and be happy with every day. And he said a $3,000 GTI VR6 manual unmodified from the South. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, I was going to say there is none.
There is no unmodified GTI VR6, but it would be a great car.
That's like finding a Subaru without vape juice in it. It just doesn't exist.
I was trying to think of like has dents. It probably has so much poke. Like it doesn't exist.
It's been impounded in Maryland twice.
Maybe.
Yes, exactly.
There's still Zima in the back seat. Okay.
Zima stains, not a can of Zima.
Fine.
Zima stains.
Well, it's been exploded because it's been sitting in the back of a car that has been pulled over to the
Impounded
side
by
and
the
impounded
Maryland police.
for a while.
The
Okay.
Ocean City, Maryland police, right?
Yes. Okay. Cone.
Half the people out there who don't know what Waterfest is or HTO are going, what the hell are they talking about?
But it sounds like a funny time. Anyway, it's a VW thing. Cones and A pointed out at the
No, it's
Cones
Cones and At.
Cones.
It's Bish's YouTube channel where he does silly things during autocross runs.
Okay, I'm sorry. Cones and At pointed out that Trans FTM Jeff is a new frontier of theme material, which he's not wrong, but he should be interested. Should anyone be interested in a car for this themes? We have pre-themed Citroen with racing provenance that would be perfect for you. Cones and At already has a Sadomastic French car. Sadomastic.
Yep. And Tim B asked, hey, can we hear more about the progress on the Z repairs next episode? Hey, for those who missed the TikTok, which is most of you, and the IG post from Jeff, the answer is yes. Yes, you can. Jeff.
I'm gonna share some screen here. Should I show the TikTok?
No.
So this weekend I was able to pull the Chevy V8 motor, and I'm trying to go down a bit. There we go. And I also took a long time to yank out a bunch of the broken suspension,
Which it looks like all of it from these pictures.
that side is way broken. So right down here is the broken, very not cheaty at all, aluminum adjustable, what is that, a tension rod, Chris?
Tension rod.
Rod. This is a lower control arm with the big old bend in it. And I don't know if you can see my arrow or not, but right there, that's the piece that broke off the tension rod.
That
The
control arm is supposed to
holes-
be straight, but
Yeah. These holes are like tremendously elongated. Every rubber bushing and tie and ball joint is busted. It's a freaking shit show in the front front passenger side wheel. It's a shit show in the rear passenger wheel, but not as bad as the front passenger wheel. So as I was disassembling, I've never actually had to. Chris suggested dropping the entire cradle with the motor and everything and dropping the motor out of the bottom. It wasn't together enough. So I ended up dropping the cross member, like leaving everything attached that was suspension-y still together, like literally just dropping it down a few inches and pulling the motor straight out of the top. I didn't really get a good picture of it because I didn't know I'd be doing show and tell. Thank you, Tim B, for asking, but I should have prepared more. The steering rack is literally millimeters from in the L of the oil pan. So you had to kind of remove all of that stuff. So anyway,
Which is why Chris had to cut up that gorgeous custom oil pan 14 times in order to get it to clearance.
Yeah. So I did get it all out, and I pulled the clutch, and I wanted to show this because we
that
got
thing
some
been around
hot,
Omar.
We
think
got
that
some
thing's
hot
been around
spots,
Omar.
ladies
It's
and
definitely-
gentlemen.
Or it's been around Tim B because that thing is smoked.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about it, or we'll just say Jim's fault?
Jim's big foot stayed on
Jim's
the
big
pedal.
foot. Yeah.
So is that a
Smoked the clutch.
repetitive?
It's just
That's just
really,
what
really,
happened-
really hot.
That's an overheating.
But
Yeah.
that was it happened like when the incident happened, or is that because multiple
Yeah.
laps happened? Is it a one and done, or is this a repeat offender?
It took multiple laps to get it that hot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And once it got that hot that it wasn't doing anything anymore, that bit stuck. It's a clutch is like a brake that just goes around. It's basically the same materials and stuff. So that's really a really, really bad uneven transfer layer.
So who was riding the
Yeah.
clutch this hard?
Jim. His
Jim
foot
had
wouldn't come off the
trouble with
clutch.
his foot. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. He freely admitted it, by the way. So he
Yeah.
knows that he was
Oh,
doing
yeah.
this. And
I mean,
Chris,
the car was
Oh, go
coming
on.
out of turn one, or not turn one, turn 17 every time, just billowing smoke out the back, and he had no radio, so we had him black flagged, and then we couldn't find anything leaking, and then went back out and did it again, still nothing leaking. Then we said, try putting the seat back a couple of clicks, see if the clutch worked. No, the clutch didn't work at all because it got too hot.
it was too hot. He had already overheated the clutch.
Yep.
This is in Pittsburgh, the first race, by the way.
Yeah.
So, and
Yep.
Chris, I want you to explain to everyone what this is and why it makes me angry.
It is a broken, it's a freaking broken oil pan stud.
Yes, it
Oh,
is. I'm
MFer.
So mad.
Jeff bought a oil pan stud kit for our custom oil pan.
Because
this
it was
point-
suggested by
Yeah.
the manufacturer.
At this point, half of them have broken. And I only had to
Ugh.
drill 2 of them out with the engine in the car. And I will say that left-handed drill bits, when they work, are amazing. It's
Yes,
the greatest
I
feeling in the
drilled a
world.
couple of them out too, didn't I?
I think you did
was
one.
under
I
there.
did 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was terrible.
So this I found literally on the ground after I put the motor on the stand.
Awesome.
So that's the Z story. I will say there's a little bit of cleanup left to do. I have to like secure the brake calipers and put a few little things together, and then I'm gonna basically drop it on a dolly and be able to put it in the trailer and load it out to the frame people. We have to get it assessed, and we probably have to get a front clip to get welded in, and
And a
it's,
quarter panel.
and a quarter panel. Yeah, quarter panel goes without saying.
And most of
door.
the suspension.
Yeah,
Mhm.
new suspension, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's going to the professionals. We do not have the ability to re-square a unibody. So
Nope.
We
There it
do.
is.
We just don't have the ability to measure it because there's 2 Suburbans at the Chris and Chrissy household. You can totally re-square anything. You just can't prove it. Measure
It would
it.
never, ever.
yeah,
ever
I
be
don't think
right
it's going to
again.
re-square. I think it needs to be.
It got too kinked in
chopped.
too many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
yeah.
Oh well.
Which
Great.
seems to be a trend with retiring race cars.
Yeah.
Well, this one we're
Alright.
not totally retiring. We're just cutting it
We'll
up
put
and
it
putting it
back.
back together.
Yeah,
It's
we'll,
kind of like
we'll front
eyesore.
half of it.
This car's been back halved and front halved, and I don't know
Well,
which
we
bits
back
of it are original
half
anymore.
the TR7 too, didn't we?
Yeah, that looked fantastic when it was.
Oh,
done.
it drove even better.
Yep.
What does it look like?
Hey,
So,
Bruce
yeah,
and
so-
I
Alright.
tried measuring. That's the best we could do.
Yeah, no, well, we weren't trying to make it look good.
Oh, well.
Speaking of things that suck, so I suck at racing. Monday night we swapped it up. So Lemons ran on Monday night and E1R ran on Sunday night. We'll talk about E1R in a minute, but 4 races. The first one was Yeet Fest Formula V's at the Short Crandon International Dirt Track. Wanted to mention that a Ryan Bearded Sim Racer, the productions, the guy that does all those Lemons races, his instructor at NASCAR University, Ben Bunk, lost his battle with cancer. So it was a memorial. Rest in peace, Mr. Bunk. That one was won by Santi. Big surprise. He's on dirt and he's really good at it. But really the true runner was Mr. Grafton, aka Stunt Granny, because we picked that number randomly beforehand. Then we went to the Crandon Long, also with Formula V's. And the first was a new guy, Zoo Gayu. We had a camera on him. Ryan really went overboard, had all kinds of great camera angles, and folks were plugging in their live cams, and he was laughing the whole time. So despite his alien talent, he clearly understands what iRacing is about. But the real winner was number 2 that we randomly chose, and that was Wartburger Thief Aaron. Eric showed up about that time. A little bit of news because now we're not letting it go on the 13th of October. just coming up very soon, the 2022 Lemons Race schedule will drop. So keep your eye on the social media. Eric, let us have that little nugget of information during the live broadcast. Third, we went to Charlotte, Kias versus Mustangs. Zylu won again, but Ron Harrington was really the real winner. And Ron Harrington's always a winner. And it was fun because he was doing an oval track. So you could see on his camera every time he would take a sip of his beer. And finally, we went to Long Beach with the trucks. And Zylu actually came down with Mr. Britain, and it literally came down to the wire. They were swapping the lead all the way to the last lap. It was a fun race to watch, but the real winner was number 6, Alien Santiago. And then the Yeet Fest went into the fountain, where Santi had found that secret hole in the wall that you can drive into the fountain at Long Beach, and it launches your car into the air. And that's how we wrapped up the evening. Check out Bearded Sim Racer, because he is now officially on the ePodium Sports NASCAR channel. He is producing some of their high-end stuff with the professionals. Follow him on all his social medias. Plus, he's just a great person.
He's
Hey,
way
you
better
know
at
who
this stuff
else-
than all of us are. But
I was gonna say, you know who else you should follow all of their social media? Chrissy's mom. Hi, Chrissy's mom. Does your mother have any social media whatsoever?
A little bit, but
Oh.
not much.
She's
was
not
gonna
on
s-
TikTok.
No, she's not on TikTok.
Not in an account that you know about.
Oh,
Oh gosh. Oh.
you could start
All
an
right.
Instagram channel, Chrissy's Mom's Cookies.
Chrissy's
And every
mom's
time she
cookies.
makes cookies for a race, you can
Oh my gosh.
I
That's a
feel like
winning idea right there.
there'd be a whole lot of people that would follow, and then we would get a comment going, this isn't what I thought it was, and then unfollow.
I know I jumped the E1R race, but I had to go.
I was gonna say, do you know when you're gonna say that? I've got my mom's answer. My mom's hello after your
Oh, okay. We did the E1R race. We say I wasn't there because I was busy on Sunday pulling Z motors. But and by the way, can I say this right now, Chris?
No,
I-
you can't say it. No.
This is different.
No.
Going
can't
back
say
to
it.
the Z. Chris, you are the person that my wife is going to call when she wins the lottery to help buy the 911 for me. I changed my mind. I want a garage because wrenching in the dark, I'm in the driveway. I'm effing sick of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I
Agreed.
was doing on
Clean out your
Sunday while you were.
garage. Throw
I
some
can't.
stuff
It,
away.
it doesn't.
No,
it won't
doesn't
even fit in there.
Wouldn't
It's
even fit
so-
in.
Throw it
Uh-uh.
all away.
7 feet
Throw it all
wide.
away. You don't need it.
It's all my
Throw it
tools. Then I don't have anything to work with. We ran the Irwindale jump with a variety of cars, and really everyone is a winner there because you could just keep jumping and landing on people. And what's better than that? I mean, the guy who came in first was Wartburger thief Aaron. So I guess I don't know. That's not really the point of a jump race.
He's fully converted to an alien. He is now officially an
He
alien.
is. He is.
Yeah, you shouldn't win the jump race. Like if you're winning the jump race, you need
Then
to
you're not
stop.
You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, just jump on people and have fun and laugh and don't worry about winning. Second race was Barber with the Legends, the Pro 2 trucks, the V
And,
Pro 2 trucks.
Legends versus Pro 2.
Legends versus. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Which ends up being pretty even because the trucks kind of like go straight through. They like don't even bother trying to make the turns. And then the Legends are kind of faster. And the Legends, as I have said in the past, take a lot of abuse. Those things can keep going even though they've been monster trucked. So I love the Legends, and when we do Legends versus Pro trucks.
I love Legends too, especially when I'm driving the AMG because I can punt those things like
Yeah, but
miles. It's awesome.
They just get there and they right themselves and they keep going.
I know, but it's like thumping a ladybug. It's so much fun.
Aw.
They also slide
anyway.
right under the truck, so you can kind of
Yeah.
like get under there and kind of lift them
you,
up.
you can actually like roll the trucks by hitting them. Anyway, Uncle Dave pulled out the win. Who cares? Nobody cares who wins a real race. Why would they care who wins a digital race? Now,
know who
I'm
would-
sorry.
Do you
I
know
totally
who would
jumped.
love the Irwindale jump? My mom.
Would she?
Yeah, it's so much fun.
It
It's
is fun.
hilarious. You just laugh the whole time.
You do.
You
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Hi,
yeah.
Mom.
Topic. Hi, Chris's mom.
I'm pretty-
time.
I'm pretty sure Zoom decided that your noise was too much for
Was-
Zoom, and
oh,
it was not
fine.
actually
Pretty
for-
much.
not
That's-
actually.
All right. All right.
Uh,
Main topic.
okay.
time.
tonight. Oh, this is the head scratching episode. This is we're getting deep. No, it's not. What? Okay.
I freely admit that this is a topic that I have trouble grasping.
I know, me too. This is why it's exciting. Okay, we're going to talk about is an intro and a discussion about how to teach trail breaking. And the why I think it's interesting is do you do it on purpose? Hopefully, do you do it by accident like I do? And maybe Jeff does, I think. But we're going to talk about this really awesome document that hit the internets lately. It was on, I think I got it on Facebook first. And then I told Chris, and Chris is like, I just got this up by email.
Yeah, I got it by
an hour ago. I found it first on Facebook probably a week ago or so. But anyway,
we should actively credit who wrote that document.
Oh yes, a wonderful document by Ross Bentley. I think it was on Speed Secrets Facebook, I believe, is that's where I found it first. But trail breaking is one of those topics that I think is very interesting because I struggle with it a little bit, and I think this document has given me some new perspective on it. Yes, Jeff.
Real quick, I just want to give an extra plug for Ross Bentley. He is amazing. We met him at the pit race HPD. And, like I've heard him on the Garage Heroes podcast. The only reason to listen to the Garage Heroes podcast is to hear them bitch about Alan and when Ross Bentley is there, because Ross Bentley is amazing. And he's like every other guest. So Ross Bentley was really awesome. And he's a great coach, professional coach. His resume is huge. You know what he is. Google him. Google this paper.
If only if you read to the bottom of the notes where we have all of this.
I know. I did. I'm putting it at the beginning because we're crediting. Go.
Oh, it was at the beginning. That's what he's saying.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh.
He's awesome.
Absolutely. So we need to start off with having the same vocabulary about some really important terms here, because that's going to make this discussion work. So first off, trail breaking. It's a great place to start. This is the way Ross described it. This is used to describe a technique of continuing braking while turning into a corner. This is done by gradually reducing the brake pressure as you're increasing cornering. Trail braking is when you gradually release, ease, or trail your foot off the pedal while turning into a corner. Great.
So brake turning or rotating the car into the turn. These are terms that I think are less often used than trail braking, but I think people understand them better because they're a little bit more explanatory. But these terms are related to trail braking with a few differences. While you use trail brake, you trail brake is used to maximize grip. Brake turning and rotating is used to actually have less grip so that your car rotates more and you actually change direction more. People say that they're rotating the car, or they're using the car's momentum to help it rotate, or the brakes to help it rotate. That's what they're saying. They're using the brakes to actually turn.
Now, if you talk about using the brakes to turn, another related concept is oversteer. Now, this is where the car rotates faster or greater than your steering input. The result is the rear of the car, they say it becomes unstable, but it's losing grip at a faster rate than the front of the car. This is literally what every driver does all the time. So the back end of the car is rotating around. To contrast oversteer and rotating, both of which are distinctly different concepts than trail braking, Ross's definition is quite useful here. Rotating is what the driver is doing to the car, while oversteer is what the car is doing to the driver. And as we introduce this technique, we should talk about, when we talk about anything involving safety, look, you're a grown-up. You're racing your car, you wadded up trying this stuff, that's on you. You're not suing us because we're amateurs just like you are. But if you listen to what we're about to tell you and you introduce this gradually, you're going to get smoother and faster.
Yeah.
I still think we should put that in the heading of the show that Jeff reads every time.
Welcome to Everyone Races, a show for it's not our fault if you screw up.
Yeah.
Or he has to talk real fast. And he's like, okay, when you listen to the show, please, we do not say that anything that we say may or may not be used against us, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Then ask your doctor about Stellantis.
Yeah. What's the disclaimer that Lemons always use? Racing is dangerous, and you know that when you start. But I will say that these techniques are they're going to make you spin, yo. That's really what we're talking about here.
Not if you listen to what we're telling you and do it correctly.
To learn it, I think you're going to screw it up and you're going to spin. Anyway. Let's
I think that's a
get right
that's
into it.
one of these later topics. We'll get into that. Yeah.
Let's get right into it. First off, first impressions from the read of the document. Any quick takeaways that we get to before we do stuff, or we're just gonna jump into it?
Oh,
Quick
I was
takeaways.
I was totally wrong. I always thought trail braking was the brake turning. That's kind of how I've always really used it. I've talked about trailing the brake into the quarter, but I always really did that for the purpose of brake turning or more extending the braking zone. Can use those interchangeably. So that was a real quick takeaway for me. If I got to separate those terms better.
I think Chrissy said it earlier. I don't think I have ever intentionally done this correctly in my life, but I will say that I have unintentionally, now that I think I understand what it is, have done it viscerally. Is that
No.
It's
I've visceral senses.
No, I think I have. I think I have done it by my senses, not by my instruction, because I think my instruction has actually taught me not to do it, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
I was just waiting for him to stop. It makes it sound like he's peeing. There's water. He's refilling his water.
Chris
It's like
is
right
refilling
next
his glass.
It's right next to my
Well,
head.
because Chris and Chrissy are in the same house. Poor Chrissy has to go to the bathroom, and that's the only way she can get quiet. So yeah, that's what the sound is.
Anyway, Chrissy, do you have a takeaway, or do you?
I have two takeaways. One that's written here. My first takeaway is that I was very interested that that Ross was very adamant about learning this early. Not the first thing, but early on in your career. And that's what makes me think that this is another one of those things like heel and toe. You can do it. You can drive a race car without doing these things, but you should learn it now, yesterday. Do it soon. Do it as we're talking about it, learn it more. This should be on your bucket list for things to learn. That's my first takeaway. My second takeaway, and I'm going to read a paragraph right from the white paper, is the why, because I struggle with sometimes you trying to figure out, well, just because you'll go faster, why is this? And this is going on to traction circle. And there's a couple other things here, but here's the first. There's two reasons why we say to do trail braking. First, it helps you to use all the tires traction throughout the corner. You get in the turning point and suddenly take your foot off the pedal as you turn in. There will be a fraction of the moment where you're not using up all the tires traction. You could be using more and carrying speed. And the second is it keeps it loaded on the front tires, so it will return you into the corner better, and it's going to change your direction better. So there's a bunch of we can't say enough. This is a great paper, and there's a lot of things in here that I think will capture you on the why, the background, not necessarily the actually how to, but yeah, that's my takeaways. Mental.
I didn't read it sorry. That's why I didn't have anything there.
I think it is.
Mental didn't do his homework. No, I'm kidding.
It is
in the notes. There's stuff for you to read.
Well, it is interesting to note that the point of the paper is targeted at instructors, and
yes,
but there's still so much that can be taken from it for everyone about what it is you're doing and why you're doing it and how to do it. It is instructional, even if it's targeted at instructors, because they need to be able to do those instructions. So anyway,
which is why I'm always a big fan of, as early as you can and you feel comfortable, you should try and get involved in instruction, because it does help you as you explain things. You begin to understand these concepts on a deeper level, and then recognizing them being put into practice. And from everything Chris is saying, that's exactly it. It is by teaching people how to teach it, it helps you understand it.
Absolutely. It's one thing to kind of get it yourself. It's another thing to be able to explain it to somebody in a way that they get it too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So
learning that
when
really
and why, let's really get to that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. You want to jump in there?
Yeah. I was going to say that I think that was a good jumping off point to how we have or have not learned this, because there's a whole variety of experiences among the four of us as to how much we've done this and how good we are at it, intentionally or not. And I think our listeners are in the same boat. There's going to be a huge variety of people there, of where are they, how are they doing it, and then we can talk more about how to move forward with it. So Like, I don't recall ever learning it specifically. Like, I went to Skip Barber. They probably told me there. I remember doing string theory, which is, once you understand this, the friction circle, which we talked about before, you should go listen to that again. But string theory is a string tied to the bottom of the steering wheel on your pedals. The more you turn the wheel, the more it pulls pedals up, right? So I remember all that. So I think that's probably where I learned it. And I think because I didn't understand the terms quite right, I was more talking about brake rotating. And that's always a little scary to do if you're not really sure, because if it goes wrong, it can go very poorly. So I guess that's something this year I've tried to be more comfortable with is braking deeper. I called it braking later and deeper, but really it was meant to be, I want to trail the brakes more often to brake rotate more using our new terms. And I think I have done that successfully and gotten better at that this year. So that's kind of how I've learned it. A lot of it was just practice, trying things.
I learned it, and I didn't know I was learning it because the internet didn't exist when I first started riding motorcycles. And in a motorcycle, you don't want to brake and then stop braking and then turn, because the vehicle itself is horribly unbalanced at that point. So you start to turn as you're easing off the brake. And once I got this concept of trail brake, I went, oh, yeah, I do that all the time on a motorcycle. So I was doing it before I knew what it was. And that's where I come from on that one. And you'll hear this phrase repeated off throughout this episode and off throughout this topic. It's about enhancing your smoothness to keep the car from getting unbalanced and using more of it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think smoothness is a lot of it, but I'm doing smoothness and I'm not trail braking with intention. So I'm on the have not learned properly camp. But I think in the HPDEs that we have attended, they say, well, trail braking, you'll learn trail braking someday. And I wasn't taught it. There might be a picture or two in the HPDEs that we've been to, and they've talked about the concept, but there was no lessons and there was never any practice in it.
No, and the paper talks about that is, you should be learning it now, but you don't want to introduce it as a technique, because I'm still trying to get you to focus on the most basic things, which is you don't brake the same way in a race car that you do on the street. And one of the things I'm going to make sure that this didn't disappear. Yeah, Jeff's going to talk about this here in a minute, but it is, just because you're driving smooth doesn't mean you're trail braking. But if you're trail braking effectively, you are absolutely driving smooth.
Yeah, and later on we can talk about how we can approach that to students.
Yes,
how to
absolutely
introduce that topic.
And I wish I had read that paper 5 years ago when I first started instructing, because it would have changed verbiage that I made a habit of changing 2 years ago, and it is much better.
Yeah, I'll definitely say that I think after reading the paper, I think my instructors did not have the ability to verbalize this concept, or they were just skipping it on purpose. Like they kind of like wave their hands, like a trail braking is it's a thing.
That's what I feel like.
Just kind of like, man, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah,
but I can see in their eyes because they don't know how to tell me.
Yeah. But it's also, we are in HPD 2 and 3, which is plenty of time that this is way beyond basics. We've tested out of everything. You should be teaching that in 2 and 3. There's no reason for it.
It is, which I think is why he wrote the paper, because he knew it wasn't getting taught.
Yeah. It's because most HPDs don't do any instruction in 2 and 3. It's like, go drive the car.
Yeah.
So they're not telling you about it. And then half of them, the instructing sessions are bitching about point buys. So
but if we talk about the best, if we're going to talk about what happens at Great Lakes, we've been to Great Lakes many years and we still have not gotten this instruction on how to do it. That's like Jeff saying, like, they're just like, well, it's a thing, but Jeff first, is that a response?
No. Go ahead, mental first, because I'm going to start my rant because of what you just said. Go ahead.
Nope, okay. I'm going to start yapping because I'm going to shut your rant down with my comment. on the HPD instructors, where this white page was posted, one of the first responses was the chairman of the Great Lakes NASA region, who said, "This is brilliant. We will absolutely be implementing this next year."
That's great.
Good.
And this is why, and it still starts my rant, because I think I was told wrong. And I think following what I was told in instructor land from 1 and 2, it stopped me from doing what I felt was more natural, which was a lot closer to trail breaking, probably more brake turning, as Chris was talking, but like, okay, so here it is. They say break in a straight line, then transition your feet, then turn as separate actions, one thing at a time. Your tires cannot do more than one thing at a time. So use all the grip to do the thing that you need to do. And according to Ross Bentley, and this goes back to his paper, is the reason that you were taught wrong, or that I was taught wrong, or that we tell people wrong, is that reason one is potentially that your instructor is lazy. What they're telling you, they should be telling you, is to melt off the brakes, then turn. And they're not. They're saying get all of your turning done, then dive to that apex.
All of your braking. And
all of your braking. Sorry.
That lazy was my verbiage.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. So he didn't use the term lazy, but he said that they didn't have the time, or they didn't have the effort to do it, or they didn't have the knowledge to do it. So anyway, yeah, so all of your braking, then turn. And I think that stopped me from doing what I felt was more natural, which was a more blending of the pedals. Go ahead, Chris.
I think the reason they're doing it, which we'll talk about more in the how to teach this, is there's other skills you gotta break people of quickly to make this work in how they break. And if you don't, it can go poorly. And the last thing you want to have is a HPD 1 student spinning on session 2. So yeah, we'll talk about things to do there. So great.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll just say that my transition. Okay. So I have said this before, and I'll just say it again to reiterate, but I am way worse at an HPDE than I am at a race car, driving a race.
Only because someone's watching.
No, someone is watching, white coat syndrome, all of that. But I really think that I'm overthinking trying to be perfect. When I'm HPDing, I'm trying to do perfect lines. I'm trying to do this. While in a race car, I'm saying, what is the best line right now at this part of the track with this traffic?
Okay. So when do you use this now? Let's go right to the
upon
movement.
Yeah, upon reading the paper, I'm not sure. Okay, so I am doing it when I am in track, and again, I'm still not fully clear on brake turning versus, I mean, I know the difference, but I'm not sure when I get in the car when I'm brake turning versus when I'm trail braking.
And see, now that when we start talking about how to teach this, that gets into an issue, because the level of awareness that you and Chrissy both have in a car, you guys are very cognizant. And if you're going to start applying not just this concept, but any self-improvement concept, you need to know, I am releasing the brake at this because of this reason, or this is my visual cue, or when this passes through my eyesight, or when this happens, these are when I'm taking these actions.
And
then,
I think
then you've got the measure of adjustment, how you're doing that.
I think we are, but that goes back to the thought process of, I'm like yelling at myself because I said I should have been off the brake earlier before I started turning, because there's that get hit with the stick. We didn't do it right. We were taught, finish your braking, then you come off the brake on the accelerator, then turn. So if I do it, I may just yell at myself and tell me I'm doing it wrong, because that's what I was taught. So I might be aware that it's happening, but I had not seen it as a good thing.
I'm the centipede. If you ask a centipede, how do you walk with all those legs?
I was going to say that horrible movie.
No, not that horrible meeting. They say if you ask a centipede how he walks with all those legs, he'll never be able to walk again, because he does it naturally. And I'm not saying I'm some sort of natural driver, blah, 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 blah. I think that I can get in my head and do the wrong thing. So this is my transition recently at the most recent HPDE, where I was driving the Veloster and it was horrible and it was a mess because I didn't want to crash. But Chris got in the car when I was in the Mazda and he said, why have you forgotten that you can do more than one thing at once? Like, why aren't you shifting and turning at the same time? Why aren't you braking and turning at the same time? Why are you doing like one thing, then the other, then the other, then the other? And I was like, because they're yelling at me in my brain. And it really messed me up. And then I rode with him at, was it Pittsburgh or was it Jersey that I rode with you?
Jersey, because Jersey would have been after Pitt. No.
But no, they don't have anything
No.
at Jersey.
No, it was at
and
Pittsburgh.
while you guys are sorting
Pitt.
that out, there
No,
is
it
an
was
essential-
Connecticut.
There is an essential reason for when we're early on trying to get you to learn one thing at a time, because if you're trying to do 3 things in a corner at one time and you know how to do none of them,
Yes,
you're not going to learn any of them.
absolutely.
So I mean, that's the same thing. You didn't start out doing quadratic equations in first grade math. You learned that 1 + 1 = 2. So you've got to build that approach. And then as you begin to master those subjects, you can kind of start blurring those lines together. And the farther you went into algebra or your calc-based physics class, the more of those equations you got to
I take
skip
any of
over
those.
because you understood how those worked. And that's from a guy that failed every grade in math. What is interesting about this, and this gets into personalities, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but fundamentally, you and I, and we've had these deep beer inspired conversations, we've spent a large part of our adult life kind of bucking the system. You'll do this. And we're always like, well, why am I doing that? Because it comes down to the old, one of the mini Murphy adages of, if it's stupid and it works, well, then it's not stupid. And Chrissy and Jeff, you guys, both of you are top level scouts. You guys have built a life of
Boy
doing
Scouts.
the right thing.
I was like,
And-
Scouts.
Yeah, you were an Eagle
Took me a
Scout.
minute.
My F1 hat. No, I'm just-
Chrissy, you were an Eagle Scout, and Chrissy was a gold member. And that there's like what 1% of the scouts do that. You guys have built a life of, I do what I'm told, and I don't necessarily question it. So if you are the type that is done well by following the instructions and blending in, there's nothing wrong with that. But reach inside and grab the little rebel, and that's going to help you kind of think through this process.
I'm okay with following rules or not following the rules. I do like to understand the why and why this is important. But I also didn't. When I go to HPDs, I am not a rebel because I assume where I'm going, they're teaching me things. I'm paying them to teach me things.
Deferring to the expert.
I
what I'm
go
doing.
to sit in
Absolutely.
classroom. I go and we take our notes. Like
I pull
that's
my
what-
pen out and I'm like, tell me, oh Yoda.
right. So we go for learning. And
Point
I
by
think
more. Got it. Next.
they said it. If I'd said why, tell me why.
Because I'm with Chris, and I've seen so many HPDE 4 level experts that are in their coaching, and I'm like, dude, you literally spent 20 minutes rattling off your resume. Shut the F up and start teaching people how to drive better. I question everyone.
Yeah.
I question myself at an HPDE, which is probably a smart move.
So let me go back to when I rode with Chris for like 3 laps. I don't remember, at Connecticut, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Forget what they said and think about what they're trying to accomplish. Like, stop thinking about the words and start thinking about the track. And I think that's what I really, from HPD 1, where we learned about friction circles and pushing the things in weight transfer, I got in this regiment of follow the line and do the line and do it correctly and do it this. And that wasn't right. It was right, but it wasn't the sport that I think that we do.
I also think that when you go to HPDs, you have way more track time than you do hours in HPDE. So you take the HPD with a grain of salt. I guess we're going off a little tangent here, but
Okay. I like tangents on this. That's the point.
okay. So I think you can establish what you've learned and what you do, and you just had to put them together. And I think that time you didn't put them together. You were keeping them as separate topics. But back to trail breaking, I think we had not been as adventurous because we had not been told how to do it, why to do it, how the best way you could try, because that's what this paper does say, that there are times where you should be able to try doing these things, and it actually will make you go faster. It's going to keep you actually safer than going and not doing the things that, or doing the things that we're we were not told not to do whatever. So yes, Jeff.
No, finish your sentence.
No,
I don't wanna...
that's my soapbox.
And I'm deferring to Chris. This is a honest question to Chris and Mental, who understand the concept probably a little better than I do. I feel like I do this so much more naturally in a rear drive car than I do a front drive car.
Oh, totally.
Is there
Absolutely.
a difference?
Really?
Is there a
I go
reason?
totally the other way.
That's fine.
Totally the other way.
Tell me about it. Tell me about the difference.
All right. Well, this is good. Like, when and where do you using this?
Yes,
I like
go.
to use this in corners where I want to carry more speed, and usually lower speed, tighter corners. So I can pick some tracks and we can use that. Like Thompson, turn 1. I'm trying to carry more speed off the main straight in there. And in addition to that, so the reason I'm carrying more speed is I'm moving my entire braking zone later, and I'm shifting the end of it into the corner a bit, so I can start braking later because my end of braking is later. The other reason I do it in turn 1 at Thompson is I want to use trail braking to brake rotate a little to get the car around that corner a little bit. So I like doing it in front drive cars because it's so easy to catch a front drive car that oversteers by just getting on the gas. Great. And you have immediately solved your oversteer problem. So you ease off, trail brake, get everything on the front wheels, because the front, that's all the weight's there. They're doing all the work anyway. You get the weight transition there. The front turns, the back steps out a little bit. That lets you kind of get back on the power while the front still has all that tension in it. And then it digs out of the corner, puts the weight on the back, and you power out of the corner. So
but as I read Ross Bentley, that's brake turn, not trail braking.
It's
am I still wrong?
A little bit. If you rotate, it is brake turning. If you don't rotate, it is trail braking.
Got it.
And it's about shifting the balance of the car. And for every reason Chris just went through, I prefer a rear wheel drive car. And the reason being is because I can ask the front wheels to slow the car down and turn. And while I am trailing off that braking, those front wheels are still turning, I am transitioning to throttle, which goes to the rear tires, which gives me more traction up front because I'm not asking those tires to accelerate the car. Now, his entire point about if you oversteer a front drive car, it is a much easier to solve problem is 100% correct. But growing up in the era that I did, I trained myself to catch a rear wheel drive step out. And it's just twitch the wheel, get it back on track. And you don't lift off the gas completely. You just lift slightly to regain the traction. And that's just muscle memory on me. But all of that is the exact same thing. I prefer a rear wheel drive car because I'm going to come in and I'm going to ask the front tires to do two things. And then while I'm asking those front tires to do the two things, as I am reducing the ask of braking and increasing the ask of turn at the exact same time I'm having that conversation with the front tires, I can ask the back tires, why don't we start moving a little faster here? And even on occasions where I will have some braking and some throttle at the same time, so I'm not making radical shifts of the car, which upset the balance of the car. That's where I'm coming from on this one. And absolutely. We're gonna get into this because Jeff's gonna touch on this in a second. You're not mastering this in one HPDE. This is a lifetime of experience. This is your entire next session in an endurance car, or your entire next track day session is you make tiny incremental things and focus on being aware of the car and what you're doing and why. And then you can start to measure and chart what those changes are doing.
And I think this kind of thing is what separates drivers who are really good from those who are fine. Is the drivers who are really good are the ones who are getting all of the tires to contribute more often. The drivers who are fine are getting their max loaded tires for whatever situation they're in up to 100%, maybe 105 and then back off to 95, whatever. They're doing fine at that, but they're not getting the lesser loaded tires to contribute as much. And it's things like this that get those lesser loaded tires involved a little bit more. Spread the load out. This is
why a Sarah Montgomery or a Ross Bentley or a Randy Popes will come in and just
Randy, whatever.
it will absolutely.
Randy uses your rear bumper as a
True,
braking zone.
True.
Sure.
Other than Randy, so Sarah and Ross Bentley will come in and take any car way better than an average amateur. We think we're decent amateurs. We are not near the pro level people who are probably doing this at a
More
much
consistently.
higher, more consistent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that difference is measured in fractions of seconds, but it is measured in fractions of seconds consistently over a period of
Okay.
time, which
A
adds to
tenth-
minutes.
A tenth at every
Can I do a
corner.
Ross Bentley quote?
At the corner, second of the lap. So
Can I do a Ross Bentley quote? He said in our little HPDE, I guess what was I 3 in our little
You're in
HPDE
2.
in our little HPDE section is Lewis Hamilton doesn't do anything different. What he does is the right thing all the time.
Mhm.
And when he gets off just a little, he fixes it immediately.
yep,
Recognizes it sooner. Yeah.
absolutely. So some other tracks that are good at to explain like when this might work or other turns. We're about to go to New Hampshire Motorsports Park. Turn 1 at New Hampshire. If you do it right, you are only trail braking. You are never really braking in a straight line in New Hampshire.
I agree on
Like,
that.
I would offer any roval course where you're coming off of the main track onto a road course. That is 100% accurate statement.
Absolutely. And you can use that trail braking if you want to do a little bit of brake turning, but be careful.
See, and this is where I know that when I know now that you said NHMS 1, I know I do it in turn 1 of NHMS. I
Yeah,
never
it's
would
like
have
hard to
considered
brake
that.
in a straight line at New Hampshire.
I never would have considered that trail braking.
Yeah. You're braking and turning at the same time. And as you go,
because that's how you do it.
that right front wheel has got the load on it all the time. But as you're going, as you're adding more turning, you're pulling out more of the braking.
Of course, because you're slowed down enough.
Yep.
Yeah. To do that smoothly. Again, I do that I do it all the time. You know, watch my asshole to asshole video where I get hit, but I got hit because I turned and braked instead of braked and turned.
Some other corners that are good at this, back to Thompson, turn 4, which is the tightest little, the one by the ice cream shop, the very tight right-hander that's off camber and downhill. And that's a great one to trail your brakes into because you want to carry all that speed that you had coming into turn 4 and keep braking because your slowest point on that track is around your apex. So give yourself the chance to get there by slowing down deeper into the corner, and it lets your front tires dig in just a little harder on that long, slow corner. Because otherwise, if they're not digging in, you're just going to sit there and understeer. If you get more weight up on them, you're going to turn and dig a little deeper and turn around that corner a little faster.
I don't think I trail brake there.
And because everyone goes into that corner so slow, you can't make a pass there, but you could set up for a pass there.
Yeah. And the one that I am absolutely sure that is trail braking is great is turn 5 under the bridge, especially after we had our data sessions last time showing the different lines through there, and one clearly being faster. Is clearly faster coming in there to double apex, and you're coming in and clipping the apex just before you go into the bridge, but you're braking while you're doing this and you're turning. You're doing all of the above. So that's the faster line through that. And I know you guys have tried that way through.
Did both.
Yep. Some West Coast ones, they're good too.
I was literally going to write every one of those you put down for Button Willow.
Good. Go for it, Mental.
So Button Willow Sunrise, which is turn 1.
Never been there. Don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's your
I'm
fault.
just going to say that every time about every button willow.
It's a traditional, very slightly banked 90-degree corner, but you're coming off the straightaway and you're hauling the mail a little bit. You don't want to brake, then come off of that because it's going to unbalance the car, then turn. You want to transition into that braking so you can carry a lot of speed through turn 1. And so, also cotton corners, it's an over the hill. So the car is
I've
light
never
on the
been there. I don't know what to talk about.
Yes. Everyone knows you haven't been there, Jeff. Just,
okay.
And then also, the other artificial elevation change, Phil Hill, and then the Star Mazda.
Didn't been there. Never. No.
Yeah. You do realize you're derailing my rhythm and my point that we're
Yes, I'm
trying
sorry,
to make to our listeners by telling everyone that you haven't been to Button Willow, which, Jeff, I don't know if you know this, You've never been to Buttonwillow.
They're a bit about no, don't know it.
All right. So Star Mazda, and it wasn't just we took that track walk on Friday night. It wasn't just you. Everybody was struggling with Star Mazda, especially everyone who had not been there, because they were coming into it, they were braking, coming off the brakes, making their initial turn. The car was getting out of shape, and they were either trying to solve it with the brakes or they're trying to solve it with the throttle. In both cases, they went off into the dirt, and then they would come have a dusty conversation with me in the penalty box. They're like, "I'm not getting this," and
They're so dirty.
Yes, it's so dirty. And they're trying to force this 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to steal a little bit of the next question's thunder from Chris, because the thing we're talking about is how do we teach this? And you are taught early on, these are the stages of going through a corner. You brake, you turn, you apex, you accelerate. And as you master those 4 basic steps, you can blend those together. When you're a younger person, you learned how to make eggs. You heat up the pan, you put the egg in there. When it starts making a crackling noise, you flip the egg, or however you like your eggs, you scramble them. Now, as you got better at making those eggs, you learned you could do other things while that egg was cooking. So you're starting to make your toast, or you start to make your coffee, you start doing stuff like that. As you master those 4 basic steps, you're blending those together, because they are not exactly mutually exclusive, especially if they're not commanding all of your attention and all of your input at one point. So just think of mixing your braking and your turning. You were told how to brake, and then you were told how to turn. Now you've got that down. Now let's start crossing those lines. And it's the color where it goes from red to green. There's always that yellow when they do those track maps. That's how I teach it. And that needs to be done outside of the car, before they get in there. You're not, when your HPD1 student's helmet is on fire, it's not the time to go, "Hey, you should be trying to trail brake right now." What? That's a terrible idea. So any instructor that's not spending time outside of the car working with their student, they're lazy and they're not doing their job. They're over there getting their car ready because they're just there for free track time. And I'm happy to see that trend reversing, because if you're teaching, like Bill Fisher just got his NASA instructor certificate and his MSF too, because
It's jelly.
Because he loves the sport and he wants to see more people involved. And if you love the sport, you should try and pursue that, just for no other reason, to give your passion to someone else, and not, and to take the slot away from some D-bag who's there just to get free track time.
You're not gonna do Laguna?
Yep. We can do Laguna now. The ones that I had picked out were turn 2, which is
I've been there. That's
Thank
the
you, Jeff.
payoff of the joke.
I know.
From earlier.
Turn 2 is a hairpin. Same reason that we talked about for the hairpin at Thompson. And you're carrying a ton of speed down into there. You want to carry that as long as you can, and you want the front end to dig in, and you might want to do some brake turning around that corner.
And everyone wusses out coming over the hill, so it's a great place to get set up for a good pass.
I think the corkscrew. I think same reasons. You're carrying a lot of speed on that long stretch, and you need to make that hard first turn to the left before you unwind to the right. If the front wheels are loaded up, you're going to get that turn correctly, and then the car is going to transition right to the other side quickly, and you shoot off down the hill.
I would definitely say that I probably did in 2, and I definitely did not on the corkscrew.
And I think turn 10, which is after the best turn on the it's corkscrew, and then the best turn on the track, which is 9, and then 10 is the right. And if you have to brake in 10, trailing it, I think, works nicely. It's just to keep your balance before you come out of 10 into 11 before the straight.
And 11, also a great place to trail brake as well, because it is so tight. It is deceptively pinchy.
11 goes back on the straight, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Just make sure my numbers are right here.
Now, Chris, and I apologize, I jumped ahead.
No, great.
How do you teach this when you're doing that?
Oh, I haven't done it very well, and I'm trying to be better. Like, how can we teach this better, Matt? Like,
I like to, first off, stop telling people to brake then turn, but say brake, now melt off the brakes, because then you're setting them up for the transition when they start to blend it.
Ease the brakes.
Yeah.
Another, just to think of it. I think the first thing I'm now going to focus on with my students, like in session 1 of, we're still following the pace car and learning the track, is brake pressure. We've got to get that correct first. Because everyone in the streets, they break up a little bit more, and then
Let's talk about Jeff. Let's see how Jeff's. Yeah.
And then Yeah, Jeff gradually goes up. That's his max right before he stops. Then he goes down. We've got to go the opposite way. We've got to, you're coming in, your brake pressure has got to spike up right at first and then gradually go down. And that gradually goes down can really tail off at the end, like to infinity, as you're trailing your brake, as you're easing it off. And it's a concept I think the people will get if you say you got to go hard first, squeeze on hard, and then gently ease off all the way through until whatever your end of braking is. And your end of braking might be halfway to the apex, might be at the turning point.
And it won't be this off, like,
off on, not
off,
digital.
Right.
And
but it's not the off.
And I think if we start that concept early, I think it makes it so that it's not blending too many things together, because it kind of comes naturally of, all right, squeeze on the brakes and then I ease them off. Where do I let them off? Up there or right here, whatever the case may be. But if they don't have the pressure right and they're doing things street braking, like gradually going up and then letting go, that's when weird things are going to happen and people are going to get uncomfortable. So I think that's step one.
And I would say, check my data at Connecticut, and I bet I'm doing it more right than I'm doing it wrong. My data at Pittsburgh at HPDE totally borked because I was trying to do what they were telling me, not what felt right.
All right.
I would love, I know the next part is, how would you, I love that. Go on.
Okay. Mental, you've taught this to more people than I have. Like, I have not been good about teaching this because I've been with more basic students mostly. And I guess I've been afraid to push them into this realm in a way that I should have. And I didn't have, I guess, the tools or techniques to be able to do this effectively because I was worried about them blending too many things together. And because I guess I wasn't setting them up the right way. So if you've had some success with it, what have you been doing that's working?
Well, what you talked about with the brake pressure, that's and that's one of the first things I'm trying to address, because they always tend to come to braking as they're braking on the street. And just early on, you set them up for, you are not driving on the street. So what you're going to do is going to be completely different, and just flip that switch now before you even get out there, and understand that some of these concepts are counterintuitive to everything you've learned how to drive a car. And, it's the age-old argument of, racing isn't a sport because I drive a car every day. Yeah, I run every day and I'm not in the Olympics. But so you get them in that mindset of what you're doing here is different than what you've known. And I have started over the last couple of years to teach in the same way that we drive, which is you look through to the next thing. When you're taking an action on the car, this is across the board, everyone on this screen, none of you are thinking exactly about what you're doing at that moment. That decision's already been made. You're thinking about what you're going to be doing in the next moment. I'm going to accelerate when I get to that visual reference. I am going to come wide on this corner, which I normally wouldn't do because I'm setting this car up for a pass. So when I'm teaching, I'm trying to use techniques and words that will make the next phase of instruction easier. So a couple of years ago, I stopped using the phrase off the brakes. I go, now we melt off. And this is in that Ross Bentley break HPDE manifesto, where your body language and your tone and your voice also set the tone for how your student is going to react. If you're nervous and uptight and spike, yell, and then calm down really quickly, they're going to react the same way. So I try to be cognizant of my tone, of my body language, and my hand language when I'm doing this, in order to set them up for this entire blending concept. I go full tilt hippie. Hey man, this is what we're doing. It's all a flow. It's a dance. That's how I'm setting those folks up. And that is a recent thing for me, is adjusting my language and my entire persona to set them up for the next phase that either me or some other instructor is going to have to be teaching them. That's where I've been trying to have a lot of success.
I love the flow and dance. Like, I think that would
Tell me that's not the first time I think I've said that. Come on.
Well, we talk about dancing all the time, but I think that
I
don't think I've ever had an instructor.
That's what I was going to say. When was the first time you heard an instructor say that at an HPDE?
Never.
I was going to ask
my
Chrissy.
first track day.
Oh, you had a great instructor. Good on you.
It was Don at NJMP. He was great. Yep. Yeah.
Good on you, Don. You're making the sport
Well,
better.
it helps that I was a ballerina, so it's easy for me to equate the things. I put the corners together. I sing the song when you're putting corners together. I mean, it is a dance, and I use I literally say ballerina toe. I put one toe on to break, just set the car kind of toe. No threshold breaking. No, that's what I call it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Ballerina
I love that. I love that. Yeah. You know, with doing the extreme experience thing, you try to pull some information out of people really quickly and relate what you're trying to talk about to what they know. Oh, I'm a truck driver. Oh, this is going to work great because you understand looking ahead. Oh, I'm a motorcyclist. Oh, good. You're not dead. So you know how to do this sort of thing. I'm a drag racer. So you understand weight transfer and balance. Let's talk about how that relates to what we're doing now.
Wow.
Ballerina toe. Love it. Love ballerina toe.
It's funny because Chrissy and I talk about the dance, the turn, the turn, the rhythm of the track. And I use that in extreme experience also. I would tell them, like wait, sing a little sing song kind of thing. But I don't think I've ever had an HPDE instructor use those kinds of terms.
Oh, it's not often, but it was the first time and it stuck. So there's that.
I definitely know I've talked about flow and linking terms, and like if I had skiers, I brought the two. Like when you're skiing, you're not just go straight, quick turn, ski, dig in. Like you don't do that. So we've talked about that kind of flow. But I'm going to try to do that more. All right. So guys, how do you want to be taught this? Like you're getting the car HPD car tomorrow.
Well, I read a paper, so now I have got to start. I understand what I've been taught incorrectly, so that's helpful.
Yeah, but if you had to pick the way you would like to be taught this, imagine a couple of years ago, you're getting in the car, you're new to this. What is a good way from a learner perspective that you would like this introduced to you think?
I needed to know that I needed to know it and how to do it, and that it was integral to me being a faster race car driver. I think there's a lot of things, as I've been thinking about this all day, that I do incorrectly, that I have full concepts that I'm not doing well because I was just thinking about them incorrectly. So braking, the start of braking, end of braking, I always felt like that was in a line. So I had to be done at, Pittsburgh's turn 1. I'm taking my start of brake at the 3 and my end of braking is at the 1. And then I am turning. So whole concepts, I feel like, because trail braking was not something that I was going to do or knew how to do and knew how to implement it, I never thought of the braking zone being into the corner. It was always in a straight line. And so I think knowing this a while ago would help me not yell at myself to say, you should have been off the brakes earlier. Why aren't you off at 1? You should be on the gas. This is every time I go into certain corners, I am giving myself the same speech and I'm not doing it any better. So I think if I had realized that I could be braking late into the corner while I'm still turning, and that was okay, I might start my brake. I might feel better about starting my braking later because I know that the it's going to continue. I will keep braking later. Yes, Mental.
Not related to the topic at hand, but related to you, because of you, I sing things all the time now and I'm trying to remember them, especially safety related stuff. You have better luck when you sing to yourself than when you yell at yourself.
Sure, but this is a concept that I'm not doing well. Therefore, singing is not going to happen because I'm yelling. Because
exactly. And my point being, it's a concept you understand. It's a concept you're not doing well.
Okay.
So stop saying you turned to the wrong point. Just go, I need to turn later.
Maybe.
Well, no, absolutely. And Ross Bentley talked about that when we were at Pittsburgh also, to use positives, not negatives. Don't say, don't break
all over the place.
Right?
Yes.
Don't say, I say to myself, don't break. And then I
break. And he turned to you and he glared at you.
Wrong.
He was like, don't say that.
You made a Canadian glare at you. What's the matter with you?
He kind of glared. He
Stay
smiled
on the gas,
a little
stay
bit.
on the gas. Or it's like when Chrissy and I were hiking not long after that, we said, not don't fall when we're on a cliff. We said stay on the trail.
Stay out.
Right?
Stay out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I already answered how I like it because I like
All right.
when Mental said flow, and I like when you
Yeah.
said melt. Melt. Both of you use melt. Use the term melt.
Great.
Blend. Melt, blend, whatever.
So I was thinking mental. Now say we get in the car with someone who's never learned this, but they're a few sessions in. So they already have some idea what they're doing. We're going to treat, it's going to be a little different for them than it is for someone fresh new.
Right.
What are we going to do differently for those folks? How are we going to treat them?
Oh, and you're trying to make that connection. And more so than in so many instructors always want to rattle off their resume to establish why they're there.
Dominance.
Not a dominance. It's I'm here because blah, 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 blah. And I have found both my mentality and my students' mentality is a whole lot better when I'm like, hey man, I'm here for you. So tell me what you want to work on and tell me where you feel like you're at. And then you can relate everything back to those central concepts. Well, I feel like I'm doing this, or I feel like I'm doing wrong. So, and it's the same thing as giving supervisory feedback. You give the good sandwich. Man, you have got this breaking down. This is totally your thing. You're really good. And that's not an easy thing to master. What I want you to try and do is take that excessive skill level you've got in breaking this corner and let's push it down there in a little bit, because now that you've got the breaking down, we can start introducing that blend of turning. Because you've got breaking down so well, let's start blending it with the turning. And I think you're going to find out that it's going to make you a little bit smoother and a little bit better. But again, yeah, dude, your breaking's awesome. Good pressure, good feel, good eyes. Let's move to this next phase. And then your inputs and your suggestions are based in that.
I was reading a management article recently that said to stop doing that because it takes attention away from all of those things by mixing them all together. And so like the good doesn't even count as much and the bad has less impact to get someone to change because if it's all mixed together, it all kind of becomes medium.
We say, don't sandwich me.
Yeah.
Just give me
Okay.
the story.
Well,
Interesting.
no,
maybe
that's it. But
it's a good topic for discussion. Additionally, with
and this gets into the psychology.
Welcome to management.
Everyone management. This is
yeah.
it's not on my bingo card.
What I'm always trying to do is rather than establish, my competence as an instructor, is I'm trying to establish that connection. And I found that a connection builds more trust than
listen to me because I say so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's oh, that's mental. That's my buddy. Mental says the car is going to stick in this corner. Car's going to stick in this corner.
And I think that's what I meant by dominance. Like, listen to me because I'm superior.
Oh, exactly. And seriously, and there are people that will listen to this podcast and be like, I was out at a track event last Tuesday and Fred did exactly that. And Fred kept telling me how blah, 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 blah. And it's stupid, yeah. And if you get Fred and Fred's a jerk, ask for Bill Fisher, because we know Bill Fisher's not a jerk.
No way.
He's just going to give you a really big spreadsheet.
He'll have the graphs already pre-printed on large format
He will.
paper.
But then he's
about
going
your
to
brake
make sure
pressure
that
and
he's going to
about
have you on a podcast on Monday.
But here's the thing. But I think more so than any of that, Bill will make that connection with his students, and they'll be like, man, I get it. This guy's he's just wound up about this sport. It's the same reason I keep trying to tell Chrissy and Jeff to get into instruction.
I
You
want
don't
to
have
get
to-
into instruction. I
yeah.
don't have enough time.
You don't have to be the masters of the sport. You still have immense wealths of knowledge to offer someone who literally it's their first time.
I agree. I think I would be a better instructor.
I've seen you
than
instruct,
some of
Jeff.
the
You're
other people.
fantastic. I think Chrissy would be infinitely superior than the credit she gives herself. But this is everyone pumps everybody else up.
But it's funny.
Yeah.
I would use none of this language. I would talk about gut and feel. Do you feel that? Do you blend that? Do you like
But if
more
that's
organic?
but if that's what's getting response out of your student, I can't use hippie language when I'm talking to an engineer. I have to start getting a little bit more precise and giving them those self kind of measurement goals and those immediate feedback.
Yeah, we're totally off the rails now, but this is
Good.
why instruction and having a bond with your instructor and having an instructor who can help you well makes all the difference in the world. And not every instructor is going to connect with every single student.
And
Even if they're good for person A, they might not be good for person B.
And just because they're in a position of authority as an instructor, you can ask for someone else. Go to the head instructor of your run group and be like, hey man, me and Sarah over here are absolutely not connecting. Could I get somebody else, please?
Or if what your instructor is saying is not working for you, tell them that.
Yeah,
Say, all right, you
I'm
keep
not
telling me
getting that.
this
I'm
just
not getting
isn't
that.
clicking for me. Can we go through it a different way? Is there
Mhm.
something else you
Yep.
can tell me? And if they don't, that's when I would definitely go
But-
to see the
and-
chief
and-
instructor and say, I need somebody else. But you should
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
give it a try to communicate, because it's a two-way street. I don't know as an instructor
Yeah.
necessarily if what I'm saying is really working for you.
Yeah.
Just
A
like with
good
any
instructor
feedback
has
relationship.
more than one way to teach you.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right. If we beat this to death, by
I
the
think
way,
so.
we should have started with, you're not going to learn how to trail break in this podcast, but we're going to talk more about trail breaking and you're going to get it more. You got to
Yeah.
get out there and do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
this is all-
and get a hold of us, email us, text me, throw something on the Instagrams, ask us these questions.
If you're an instructor out there, go get this white paper,
Yes.
period. Somebody do the plugs for everything that Ross does.
I think, I'll finish with this quote that Ross has that I think is good for wrapping
Sure.
up. It's the true magic of driving a car to limit is the timing and rate of release of the brake pedal as you enter a corner at speed. That's trail braking. While it's a magic feeling, it's a fundamental skill that must be learned.
I think if you're a
Awesome.
racer or you've been driving a while or you're going to lots of HPDs, I think you should still read the paper.
It's valuable to everybody, I think.
Mhm.
If you understand the concepts involved to start with, hey, this isn't a 101, but if you're at the 103 or 201 level, I think you're gonna get something out of it.
I agree.
And it'll set you up for success as you move up that chain.
Yep. And if you're
Absolutely.
not following Ross and watching him on YouTube, and he's everywhere, but you should, and he's a very approachable man and a very nice man. And and he has a lot of good things to say at all levels. I think you can learn something from him most times.
We got links to all of his stuff in our show
Yeah.
notes.
Speed Secrets. A lot of his stuff is under Speed Secrets. A lot of his stuff is under his name, Ross Bentley, just like the manual. Awesome. Do we know what we're doing next week? Are we skipping Hella Sweet but Terrible and all that stuff? Does anybody have one? We have no notes. Let's just wrap it up. Okay.
Indeed,
Okay.
Chrissy knows exactly what we're doing next week.
That's good. This is confirmed. Did you just make this happen? That's awesome. Okay. Well, because Eric had given us the little nugget about the new schedule coming out pretty early in life, really. Sometimes they wait till November. We're going to have him on next week too. We can talk about the 2022 race and rally schedule. Fan-freaking-tastic.
I'm excited. By the way, since we are discussing PRI, if you live in the greater Indianapolis area and have a couch we could surf, or a good hotel that won't
or
have
I'm
roaches
sorry,
on it?
since we're big name journalists with massive media partners, if you are a PR rep for a major automotive manufacturer, I'm looking at you, Rhonda Bello from Ford. We would love to test
Press
your
car.
vehicle. We would love to test your press car in Indianapolis traffic. Ford Maverick. Talk
Yeah,
to us.
seriously, Ford Maverick. I've read
it's-
so much on the Ford Maverick lately. I would love to check one out.
Rhonda,
Yeah.
call me.
Call Mental. And we're about to do the number because I'm going to say thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button, hit the little bell.
That's how the
Talk
internet
with some
works, folks. And
doodly-doo.
honestly, it's going to make your YouTube experience better because it's
Yes.
going to find more crap
Uh,
like this.
202 subscribers. So we increased 1% over the last week. Anyway, if you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. Rhonda, I think that was your name,
Rhonda Bello.
484.
Yep.
Ron,
Rhonda Bello.
Rhonda Mello. called Mental. Offer us a Maverick, even one with Steelies. Steelies on a new car. I want it.
I'd rather have the. I
484
want the base model. Yeah, absolutely.
484-243-0455. That number again, 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram or the Twitters at everyone.racers, to the YouTube, everyone.racers, Reddit is /E1R. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up and keep those brakes down into the turn, right?
Mhm.